Okay. I got it. Yeah, I'll send you the flyer.
Sounds good. Thank you. I think she's also joining us shortly.
Good evening.
Hey, good evening.
How you doing?
I'm good. Glad to be back. Had a few business travels that couldn't be here the past 2 meetings. Let me see. So we're gonna give it till like 7:06, 7:10. Give committee members time to come in. Okay, so our meeting's not necessarily going to be voting on anything today. So even though we don't have quorum, we're going to start the meeting uh, to be able to like make sure we respect people's time and understanding that all of us work during the day. So I'll try to make sure to make it brief and to the point. So let's start with the chair reports. I haven't been able to attend the meeting the last two due to business. But I'm back, and I've been in conversations with the satellite office in Washington Heights for the DA's office in regards to a event around making sure we truly understand what the bail reform is. There's a lot of fake news, a lot of false information out there. So we invited the district attorney himself, DA Bragg, to be able to hold a conversation to us and just explain and break it down to us what the bill reform is and how and the data surrounding it. I want to thank Jocelyn for it and Ellie as well for supporting in that process. I also want to thank Barbara for stepping in while I wasn't here to be able to run the meetings. That's it for my report. Now I'd like to start off with the 3-4s here. So the
3-3 precinct.
Yeah,
okay, so the 34th didn't come today in this
yeah,
meeting.
the 3-4 is here.
Okay. So could we start off with the 3-4, please?
Sure. Lieutenant Taveras from the 3-4. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
For the 28-day period, I'm going to give you the breakdown. We have murder 0 versus 1 for a 100% decrease. We have rape 3 versus 4 for a 35% decrease. We have robbery 32 versus 12, 166 increase. We have felonious assault 14 versus 19, 26% decrease. Burglary 15 versus 11, 45% increase. Grand larceny orders 47 versus 42, 11% increase. And grand larceny, I'm sorry, the last one was just grand larceny. Now grand larceny orders 37 versus 12 for 208 increase. Now, I know you guys requested some information on the previous meeting. I wasn't here, but I got the information that you guys wanted. So
Lieutenant
I just
Taveras, can you put up the grid like Lieutenant Ames did last time?
I think he's calling in,
Unfortunately,
Barbara. He can't do that.
I
Oh,
don't
he's have a camera. I'm sorry. I'll try to get a camera. I requested one, but I still have not received it. So they wanted to know how many guns were recovered. So for the 28-day period, we have 5 guns recovered versus 2 last year. Shooting incidents, we have 0 versus 3 last year. They wanted to know EDP calls, that's emotional disturbed person. We have 179 versus 182. Domestic violence report, we have 156 versus 237. Now, out of the robberies, they wanted to know how many robberies were with firearm. We have 11 versus 1 last year. For the animal abuse, we have 5 911 calls, which all were unfounded. For the felonious assault, we have 2 were with a blunt instrument, 10 were family, and 2 were with a knife or sharp instrument. I just want to let you guys know we are seeing a huge increase on GLAs, and most of our GLAs, that's grand larceny order, are because people are leaving the cars running. So how are we combating that? We have our NCOs hand out flyers, and we also going to the restaurants and businesses some of them don't agree, but some of them do. So we're putting up on their windows not to leave their cars running. Also, in our Twitter account and Facebook account, we continue weekly. We put out the message, please don't leave your car running. And it's just very difficult for us to come back. If you live in the area of the 3-4, you have seen an increase of patrol trying to move all the double park cars, especially on the cluster like 207, Dykeman, Sherman. The reason is not to bother the motorist who's gonna get food. It's just so you don't get your car stolen. So we just try to move the double parkers. That's how we're combating it. We're trying, and that's what I got from the 3-4.
Okay, thank you so much. I know before they used to email us the reports prior to, because we could just appendix it to make sure that when we submit our minutes, that we also attach the reports to our minutes so that the rest of the board also gets this information. So I think we have to, like, if possible, a recommendation is prior to the meeting, if we could get like a picture or anything from the report, if that's possible.
Oh, so absolutely. You know what? I wanted to actually ask you because when I found out that the meeting was happening today, because I just came from one meeting. It was like 3 hours ago.
Okay.
So I had to get prepared for it. So like if you give me at least the day prior, that would really help us, and we could email you all the information, and you could put it up.
Perfect.
Also,
Chanel.
This is public information. If you go to Comstat 2.0, everybody has access to this information.
Yeah,
it's
I
online,
understand. It's just to make sure that because we don't know what you're going to be reporting on. There's a whole bunch of data there. So I just think it's important to be able to, based on what you're reporting on, be able to attach it to the minutes so that the rest of the board knows, okay, this was what was spoken about, because you could get so much different type of data in Comstat.
I agree. I agree with you. So if you could just give me at least one day, notice.
I got you.
We
Chanel.
definitely provide that information.
Chanel, are you there?
Yeah.
So please, a day prior to the public safety meeting, we make sure that we email the precincts to let them know that we need their reports.
Okay. All right.
All right. Thank you, Mom. All right. The 3-3.
Everybody hears me?
Yeah.
Can't we ask some questions of the 34th?
We'll fit once we finish the reports. I think we'll just continue on because there might be overlapping questions.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Captain Rodriguez. I'm the executive officer of the 3-3 precinct. For the 28-day period, murder, we are up 1 versus 0, 100%. Rape, we are up 2 versus 0, 200%. Robberies, we are up 15 versus 13, 15.4%. Felonious assault, we are up 23 versus 18, increase of 27.8%. Burglary, we are down 7 versus 19, which equals to 63.2% decrease. Grand larcenies were up 22 versus 18, equals to 22.2% increase. And grand larceny autos, we were up 9 versus 4, which is 125% increase. And the grand larceny auto is also because people are leaving their cars running. That's really big. And also for you guys to know, tomorrow I'm gonna do a joint operation with the 3-0. After speak to the 3-4, we're gonna be at the borders, well, my borders, which is 155 in Broadway and 179 in Broadway. We're gonna have everybody there, NCOs, community affairs. We're gonna be handing out flyers just to let the public know not to leave your car running.
All right, thank you so much. Similar to what I told the 3-4, just I'll make sure that the office emails you a day prior to make sure that we get the reports, just so we could add it as an appendix to the minute.
I didn't get an invite.
Oh, you didn't?
No, I'm signing on Jimenez's invite.
Okay. So we'll make sure to if you can, Chanel, how do we usually invite the 3-3?
Like with Zoom, like with the emails that we have.
Okay, so whoever Ebenezer, you have Ebenezer's email, officer?
Who's?
Ebenezer.
No,
Okay, so what's your email?
it's Albert.Rodriguez.
ALBERT.Rodriguez.
Mhm.
Yeah.
NYPD.org.
Okay, cool. I'll make sure that you get your invite. Any questions for any of the precincts?
Yes, I have some.
All right,
Okay.
go ahead, Barbara.
First of all, both precincts recorded an increase in felony assaults. Were the precincts able to follow through and ensure that these were booked as felony assaults with weapons? Because there have been incidents where the district attorneys attempted to not do that.
So regarding the 3-4, I could speak about the 3-4. I don't have information about the 3-3.
Sure.
So for the 3-4, actually we have a decrease on felonious assault. So most of our felonious assault are family related. So when a lot of the times when it's family, after the person gets arrested, the complainant refuses to cooperate, let's say, or they
Okay.
don't want to go through with the case. So those, it could vary, it depends on the situation.
Right.
Now with the other ones, those people were unknown to the victim and no arrest was made. So that those cases are under investigation. So I don't have anything that I could give you at this time.
Okay. In the ones that were where it was a family member not and hesitant to follow through on, I assume some of it was domestic violence. Are you successful in getting outreach for domestic violence support, like with Safe Horizons and so forth?
Actually, yes, I could say that I'm very proud of my officers for domestic violence. They definitely, anytime there is a serious situation or they feel that the victim is in danger, they follow up the next day and they go do a home visit and they provide all the agencies that could help that person. So they always do that. Most of the time, I'm going to say 99% of the time, they are going to follow up with the victim within 1 day, because they're not going to be the one responding to the job. It's going to be the regular patrol car. As soon as they receive that report the next day, they follow up with the victim. They do a home visit and offer all the programs that we have available to us.
Can I just get a point of clarification? I didn't hear the question, Barbara, and you said the DA's office, but I didn't hear what your.
Well, there have been a couple reported incident or two where the district attorney's office, when writing up charges that involved a weapon in the police report, they didn't want to include that, and a police officer refused to sign the report until the use of a weapon was included.
And you're saying this happened in the 3-3 and the 3-4?
No, I'm not. Not at all.
Okay.
But I'm just
Okay.
saying that we can't let that happen. And that's why I asked. Okay, I'm not.
This question was asked. Let's just make sure we maintain.
Can I just also jump on the lieutenant's remarks in terms of whether or not a victim wants to cooperate with a case? If we have enough evidence, we don't always have to dismiss a case because a victim is not cooperative, especially with felony cases. We try the best that we can, whether it be through body cam footage, whether it be through excited utterances, whether it be through hospital reports. So just because a victim doesn't necessarily want to move forward with a case does not mean that the case goes away right away. So there's an order of protection in place, whether or not the victim wants to continue with the case. And in addition to that, like Delu said, there's also services that are offered to every victim of every crime, whether or not they want to move forward with a case. They're offered services as well to try and ameliorate, the issues of domestic violence and violence in general.
All right, thank you, Jocelyn. Nancy?
Yeah, thank you, Domingo. Good evening, everyone. So I have a couple of questions for the 3-4. Just some incidents that community has brought to my attention, and I'd like to know if you have anything to expound on that. The first is that there were reports of problems at Utopia, and that they are staying open past their time. They're supposed to close at 12, and that there has been concern with residents in the area of safety. The second, so I'm just going to give us 3. The second was also had reports of some car thefts right out of the garage on Dyckman, that's by Republica, between Dyckman and Sherman. And then the third was that there was a woman spotted fires being started in Inwood Hill Park last night and the night before. She reported them. So I'm wondering if you have any information on any of those incidents. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, could you go one by one, please?
Sure. So we've had reports that there were some problems, disturbances by Utopia, and that they are staying open later than their license allows. And have you heard of any problems over there?
Actually, I have not. Now, good thing you told me, so I could follow up on that.
Okay.
That was one. The second one was the car that was stolen out of the Republic, I believe. That's what you mean, the
garage.
The garage of Republic.
Okay.
Yeah. So is that the one?
Right. And so then the other one is then we had heard that there were 2 car thefts right out of the garage at the by Republica. So that was the other location.
All right, so the same thing we have happened on 215 and 10th Avenue. There is a garage. So practically a lot of these garages, what they do is that they park the car and they leave the car inside. So now people have gone to these garages. One person entertains the person that's working there while the other person goes into the car. So they go one by one until they find a car that's open. As soon as they gain entry to the car, the key 90% of the times is inside the car. So they just drive away. And we were having that problem. And what we did is that we had our NCOs go to every garage in their sectors to educate them about the situation that we've been seeing. Mm-hmm. So that's about the garages. About the fire, I did not hear anything. I could find out for you though.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Any more questions for any of the precincts?
I just wanted to comment. Excellent that you're doing the leafleting about the car thefts. One suggestion we had last month was also to ask the gas stations to distribute leaflets, because people that drive around this neighborhood probably buy gasoline in the neighborhood. And was that considered? Was that taken up as a suggestion?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yes. So pretty much the way we did it is we have our NCOs, because there is a lot of businesses in the area, so they can only do so much. It's 2 of them, and there is a lot of different issues we have. So practically what we gave them is the map where we've been taking the GLAs. And in those clusters, they were advised to hand out the information, the flyers to every business. We really cannot go to every business in the 3-4, but we look at the map, we see where we're having the problem, and we target those areas. So that's what we did. So if there's a gas station, I'm pretty sure they went to the gas station, if the gas station is in that area.
Okay. I would suggest, though, a couple of the big gas stations, I'm sure
Okay, Barbara,
that's where a lot of these cars.
you're part, aren't you part of that precinct council?
No, not anymore.
Okay, so reach out to the colleagues that you know that are there and make sure that you know the commander thinks about that.
Yeah,
okay.
help each other. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So any more questions for any of the precincts? All right.
I just wanted to say the 33rd wasn't here last month because they were, Wilbert Moore's funeral.
Okay.
And we had asked, which the 34th brought again, that when they have the assaults, that we wanted to know what kind of weapons were used, if they could include that in their report, and also to include the animal cruelty report, which the 34th included. The 33rd wasn't here to hear the request last month. So if you could include that in the future,
Can you
thank you.
do me a favor, Barbara? Could you sum that up, send it to me in an email, and I'll just forward it?
It's in the minutes. Read the minutes.
All right. So if you don't sum it up in an email, Barbara, there's only so much I could do. So moving forward, I got an email, and this is more for Jocelyn. There's an email around an increase in hate crimes towards Asians. She was looking for resources. Barbara, can you mute yourself, please? Because we're hearing all the. Thank you.
Background, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And they're just trying to look for resources. So I haven't responded to the email yet because I want to be able to accumulate as many resources as I can and just share it with the individual looking for some answers.
I mean, you can certainly send them our way.
Okay.
Ellie and I had a wonderful meeting with a CB12 member, and she's very excited to see how we can collaborate in getting the word out on hate crimes and our hate crimes unit, especially language specific for our AAPI community up here in Washington Heights and Inwood. So please send them our way. And we'll include them in the conversations, and we'll also include them on any information that we have forthcoming from our office.
All right, perfect.
Jocelyn, I would immediately suggest at the the Wien House on Nagel Avenue, there has been a significant increase in the Chinese population and residents. And as a result, they have hired a part-time Chinese Mandarin-speaking social worker. So I would contact that social worker, who of course has very close ties to the Asian elderly community or Chinese elderly community.
Where is that, Barbara?
The Wien House, WIEN, that high-rise building, the 14-story senior citizens residence on Nagel Avenue that's connected to the Y, the Jewish Y. What's that, 152 Nagel, I think. And I think 2 days a week, they have a Chinese social worker there to address the needs of that senior Chinese population.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So committee, did you all receive the email from the FDNY regarding the fire reports?
Yes, that was one of our requests, that we be given that information.
Okay, perfect.
And of course, it's still in process.
Okay, the vast majority of the asks are still under investigation.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that were closed were the ceiling fire, which was electrical on 5 Seaman Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
And then a rubbish trash fire in the lobby. It
Mhm.
says no investigation, and then everything else is under investigation.
Mhm.
Okay, so we'll attach the reports to the minutes.
Mhm.
And then, as we all know, we're transitioning now from the precinct reports. Oh no, we got Jocelyn and we have Superintendent Miller as well. So Jocelyn, go ahead, and then we'll finish off reports with Superintendent Miller.
Thank you, everyone. And we have Ellie, my partner in crime, here with us as well. But I'm gonna take the lead because Ellie's a little under the weather, so she's trooping on by being on. So thank you, Domingo. So happy to see you back. We are definitely looking forward to participating in the Public Safety Forum, and looking forward to that conversation. And the DA is very much looking forward to it. So we have just a couple of announcements. We are partnering with the NYPD and Senator Jackson's office, as well as Oyate, a community-based organization, to host a gun buyback. It's going to be this Saturday at the Collegiate Church on 181st Street. Captain, I was going to suggest, if you don't mind, maybe we can join you tomorrow on the border so we can hand out some of those flyers as well. I think Chris and Jose have the NYPD flyers for that event, and we would really appreciate the outreach to go out.
I'm gonna be here from 12 to midnight. Basically, I want to be out there between the hours of 12 and 8. I want to hit, the rush hour, especially. So you could call me and we're gonna be out there.
Okay.
So we could call me and we'll set it up.
Okay, I will definitely do that. I think it'd be wonderful to be able to spread the word. As we all know, we have such a terrible situation in terms of all these guns on the street, and the cash that people can get has been upped the value. So usually it's $200, but it's now going to be $500 through the efforts of this CBO. So we're very excited about that, and we're hoping to get a good number of guns off the street. Although, as far as I'm concerned, one gun that we get off the street, it's a success. It means that there's a gun out there that can potentially be used to hurt someone or commit a crime with. So I'd be happy with one, but of course I'm hoping for many more. So I want to thank you, Domingo, as well. I know that I sent you the flyers, and we sent it to Ebenezer. I'm hoping that he blasted it out. If not, I'll send it again to Chanel tomorrow to make sure that it goes out so that we have a successful event on Saturday. Other than that, we just got through teen dating violence awareness. We did quite a few presentations in schools. February is Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month, amongst other things in February, like Black History, but it's an ongoing effort throughout the year. So if you know of any school that might benefit from a presentation, please reach out to Ellie or myself, and we'll make sure that we make that happen. And while we're speaking of our youngsters, we recently had a resume workshop that was last Friday. But what's upcoming now, it's the summer internship program and the Gun Buyback Fellowship. And we are actively interviewing or accepting applications for that now. The deadline is March the 4th. So the deadline is this Friday. It may be extended. We're not sure yet, but we know that the deadline is March the 4th, and the flyers were also sent to the community board. So we want to thank them for helping us get the word out. And as usual, we try to push this as much as we can to our community youth here in Washington Heights, Inwood, Hamilton Heights, Harlem. We want our kids to take advantage of this internship. So, hopefully they will, and we'll have a good turnout and representation from this community board. Next month, April, is Denim Day. So I'll be reaching out to all of you as well in terms of what we have going on for Denim Day. We haven't started yet to see what that looks like, but it's usually put together in no time at all. And I look forward to seeing you all there. I see Nancy shaking her head. Nancy is always a supporter of all our initiatives, domestic violence and sexual assault related. So I look forward to partnering with all of you in that as well. Did I miss anything, Ellie?
No, you didn't. Thank you for taking
Okay.
the lead, and apologize to everyone, but it's always a pleasure to be here. And you guys, if you ever need anything, just reach out to Joss and I, and it's always nice to be here.
Thank you.
Ellie's
And
gonna
that's
be the
all we
pres-
have for the DA's
Ellie's
office.
gonna run for president one of these days, Jocelyn. Everything is so diplomatic and
I try.
So just to clarify, I know Jocelyn raised the committee alongside the board will be having a forum on March 30th, right? March 30th, 6 p.m. We'll open the room at 6 p.m. I believe we'll be starting approximately 6:30. And we're gonna engage in a conversation around the bail reform. There's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of people assuming they know, that they think they know. We want concrete answers. I'm looking to partner up with the Latino Justice Group so we could have some sort of lawyer that understands human rights so that we can engage in a objective conversation and try to like understand the points, understand the data, and see what this is. And I think this should help our community gain some clarity around what bail reform is and try to understand it to the best of our capacity. I thank you, Jocelyn, for supporting us in being able to be bridging the DA's office with the board and always being a support, and making sure that even though the conversation might be controversial, but it needs to be had. And I think when we disseminate information, our community is more informed, and it helps us understand things better. So thank you for that. We will be putting the flyer together. We will also be engaging in a conversation after the reports to be able to talk about what type of conversations and the direction we want to take this in. Superintendent Miller, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me once again. Superintendent Miller, Edgecombe Residential Treatment Facility and Work Release Facility. Domingo, you might not be aware of this, but I did try to give notice to the board that we'll be doing a private citizen tour at the facility in June. So I told everybody, save the date, plenty of notice. June 7th was the date, 11 a.m. We will see what the parameters are at that time as far as if we need masking and proof of vaccination, all that. We'll update that prior to, but we just want to hold that date. Presently at the facility, absolutely no COVID positives population our staff, so that's beautiful. A question came up last month's meeting about if we could accept donation of feminine hygiene products. So yes, we can. They just have to be, unused, new, not opened. We can also do the book donations, and I can connect. I can go to the either the DA's office or to the board and pick them up, or we can coordinate that. So we would gladly accept any of those donations. I appreciate that. Barbara also had encouraged us to connect with a Savannah Hall across the street from us for possible housing for people leaving. Savannah Hall does have a very specific clientele that we may not meet their needs, but I think there's a possibility that there could be some people, but they have dedicated beds, for youth, dedicated beds for mental health, dedicated beds for people from this zip code, this community board. So, those are all the factors that we have to take into consideration. As the prison population has decreased across New York State, the department has been looking at different ways to make the best use of facilities. So right now, our facility is under review for a possible change in in who comes through there. The women work release will remain, but to have a greater impact on the New York City area, there's a consideration right now about trying to divert parolees or people maxing out from prisons to be released to the shelter system. So we're in discussion right now at the possibility of having people that don't have a place to live come and come to our facility where they can transition to the community with supports and not just go to the shelter system. And there's a possibility with funding from the governor's office that they would have the possibility of getting a stipend that they could give to a family member, head of household, if they would take them in. So we're working on that, and I will keep you posted as we progress in that area. So that's basically my report for now. Captain Rodriguez, I will hit you offline. I want to connect with you. I had a good relationship with Bello, but he left, and I got to connect. You guys are down the block from me, so I need to connect with you. Jocelyn will touch base as well, because if we do the new initiative, we're going to want everybody to understand what's happening and how to support it. And that's my report. Thank you.
What's up, Jovi? Go ahead, Jamina, followed by OC.
Hey, so I have a question. I wanted to ask about the tour that you mentioned in June, and I was just wondering if it's still going on and if there's a way that we can register to attend the facility tour.
Oh yeah. No, it's the date's June 7th, and then we will. Really, I guess I can give my information. I'll put my information in the chat, and you can send me an email now, and I'll put you down. I think we got 30 spots, so that's no problem. But of course, we'll wait till we get closer to the actual date to confirm everything, especially if we go, if there's a change in the facility. But either way, if we set that date, I just know I'll confirm it.
Superintendent Miller, is it possible for a few of those spots to be held for the community board, at least 5?
Yes.
Yeah, so like that, we could work on making sure we compile a list of individuals who are interested and send it over to you. So like that, you at least know that 25 other individuals might be coming from elsewhere.
Yes, definitely.
All right. I
Thank
believe
you.
I have your email. So Jumi, I'll send you, I don't know if you want to spearhead that. Just compiling a list of 5 people, and then we just send it to Superintendent Miller.
Yes.
All right, got you. So I'll send you his email, right?
Thank you.
OC, and then followed by Barbara.
This was my question, so I retract, I yield my time.
Okay, thank you, OC. Barbara?
Okay, a couple questions. One, great that we can start this connection and give you some support. First of all, can you be a little more specific, not tonight, but put it together? What kind of books at what level would be appropriate for your population there, both the women and for the male inmates? The genre, the reading level, paperback or hardcover. And also, I believe that they can't have any form of marks in them, if I'm correct, because I know I've been before involved in sending things to Forest Hills and to Attica. So just if you would really kind of write just a brief memo clarifying what kind, the specificity for the books. Second of all, we'd also asked if we could give any games or puzzles. And you didn't mention that. Is that allowed, some forms of games or puzzles?
Yes. Yeah.
That would be okay.
That would be okay.
Do you think they would take to having some puzzles? Pass the time?
I'm sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Some people think it's hokey. I mean, I do puzzles, Okay. And then also, what about some clothing? No.
So you're gonna do an after-school program out there, Barbara? Let me find out.
Only if you help me, Domingo. Only if we do it together.
My time is limited. I'm not retired yet.
No,
soon.
I know.
In 30, 40 years.
A lot's been going on, Domingo. You like this, right? You like this. These are all part of our discussion about how we could have and initiate through the community some forms of what would be outreach and passive crime reduction. Like
Yeah,
maybe this would help somebody not to recommit, okay?
That's great ideas, but we got to see them through. We can't just talk about them every time there's a community board meeting. We got to see them through. I want point people stepping up and being like, all right. So
we are doing this, Domingo.
if we got books, I got a storage for the books, Barbara. I'm gonna send them all to you so you can make sure
they're going to be
properly
collected. We discussed last month, they would be collected at the CB12 office. Then he can come over with a cart and see what he's legally allowed to take back, because they can't be delivered directly to the prison.
But we got to make sure that the office knows what we're doing.
We're going to do that.
Yes.
Okay.
Barbara.
Then the other thing, what about clothing? We had discussed that. You're not so big on that for the women going out for work, no?
No, we get clothing donations.
You've got that already. Okay. All right. Then in terms of the what's it called? Not Phoenix House. It's about 155th 155th Street for men. What's the place called? Have a Chinese.
What is it?
Huh?
What is it?
You guys.
Something like that.
Whatever it's called, but it's a transition house for men, a halfway house.
I know say whatever, Barbara. Don't minimize it. Just say I don't know the name. It sounds.
I don't know the name.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't listen. I don't remember people's names. Anyway, so they've generally, when I was in graduate school, they were recruiting people to do GED and tutoring. Do you do that with your inmates there?
GED and tutor? No, by the time they come to us, they're basically getting ready to be released. So we're doing things like helping them with their documents, giving them maybe some interview, resume writing, so they have something making linkages in the community. In phase 3, when they'll do their GED or advanced education, there's actually college courses. Queensboro, which is the other state facility in Long Island City, they actually have education release where somebody can be released, be there, go out to class, and come back to the facility. They're doing in the city. That's where it's happening.
Yeah, I used to teach that Barbara, at Mercy College.
Send me an email, Barbara, because
that's what I'm.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, Barbara.
Okay.
Barbara.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So it sounds like we have a lot of great initiatives, a lot of great point people that will be tasked with these initiatives. So the reports are very informative. Let's digest that information. Now we're moving forward to the the second to last item in our agenda, which is speaking about, is there any questions? I'm sorry, for Jocelyn or for Superintendent Miller before we move on? Going once, twice. Thank you all for your reports. Much appreciated. Now we're going to engage in a conversation around our forum on March 30th.
Domingo, I want to make the comment. Transit is not here.
I will personally reach out to them for next month's meeting.
They haven't been here for 3 months. No, I want this to be in the minutes.
There was changes made. I believe the transit officer now tasked with it. I don't know if you remember. I don't know if it's Officer or Captain Rodriguez now. He was the NCO for a lot of the east side of Broadway. I'm not sure. You remember Rodriguez?
Yeah. The point is the crime
so
situation in transit.
We understand it, Barbara. We don't have that person here, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, let the minutes reflect that that's a real neglect on the part of transit not to come.
Great. Thank you. Minutes, please reflect that. So now we're transitioning over to let's get ready. We're having a forum on the bail reform. So I want to open up the conversation as to any suggestions. I will be seeking co-moderation by ideally civil rights attorney, human rights lawyer. I reached out to Latino Justice and Legal Aid Society, see if there's anybody there that could support us, just so we could. Policy is heavy, right? It's a lot of information, so we got to make sure we have somebody who understands this and is also working at that level, so we can make sure that we get clarity when we speak about data, what does that mean and how does that look on both sides? So let's begin with, is there is there a process folks recommend for questions? Ideally, it's a dialogue. So we just don't want to be spoken to. We want to engage in a conversation so that any misconceptions could be addressed and accurate information be provided. So besides that, I already have somebody working on a flyer. So we'll be, and I already spoke to Ellie Jocelyn. So once the artist does the flyer, I'll be sending it over to you guys to see if there's anything that needs to be changed before we add your logo to it. And yes, Julio.
Thank you. Just a suggestion in terms of if the discussion of bill reform, it would be great if to also have one or two of the state legislators available as part of that, because they enacted this, and I know that they're getting a lot of pressure as well to have discussion. So it'd be great to have their perspective as well.
So initially, Julio, we didn't want to politicize it to the point where it became an elected official in a forum around. We want to talk about how the DA is handling the bill reform. We're not necessarily addressing the policy specific because that wouldn't require the legislator to attend, but we didn't want to politicize it to the point where we had state politicians. We just want to focus on the DA, and then based on this conversation, once we get clarity on how things, the inner linings of it, then we could bring in the politicians and start addressing the policy. That was the ideal logic behind it, because we didn't want to bring in too much information all at one time. So now we just want to understand the process. What does the bill reform mean for the DEA? How does that look when prosecuting a case, you know? So that's what we're interested on. So if there's any suggestions on that area, maybe there might be a follow-up conversations for some suggestions or some amendments. But right now, I feel like a lot of folks don't necessarily understand what the bill reform is and what the DA's role is within all of that. Barbara.
First of all, I don't want, because we really, as you said, want to get more of the inner workings and specificity. I don't want that the meeting be, oh, I'll have to get back to you on that. Oh, good question. Yeah, I'll get back to you. No. So I
Barbara,
do.
That's why we're asking for questions.
You're interrupted. Now. Don't interrupt.
It's not quite. It's because it's everything with you stipulation. It's always
Let me finish. Let me finish.
So tell me, Barbara.
Stop.
Go ahead, Barbara.
What we should do is that we should have on our flyer that people can submit questions in advance by a certain date. Since this is March 30th, probably let's say by the 21st, so that if they have a question that would require some research or some data or something for him to bring, he's got 9 days to prepare an answer or a reply. In other words, if I'm a mathematician, throw something off the top of my head. How many youth under age 19 have been tried as adults? Something like that, where you would want an answer, not I'll get back to you. So I think that we should solicit that from the public.
Agreed. Do we have a system in place to be able to, are we saying email somebody and somebody captures all these emails? How are we going to do that?
I think it should go to Ebenezer. And then he would forward those questions to Bragg and CC the questions to the Public Safety Committee members. Okay. Submit your questions to, Ebenezer Smith at blah, blah, blah. And then he would submit that as a compendium to Bragg on, let's say, the 22nd, and also send that compendium to each Public Safety Committee member, and also to Eliezer. Okay. Does that make sense?
Individual emails. Okay, go ahead.
Well, he could make it a compendium,
All right. So we're going to have to talk to Ebenezer to see how his workload is. How can we pull that off? So let's offline that and see how we could get a system in place for questions. Anything else, Barbara?
Well, I think also because this will be on Zoom, right?
Correct.
Yeah, because people will be coming in from Zoom, that's also a good way to manage the Zoom rather than it getting chaotic and so forth. Because a lot of people will have their information pre-prepared for them. So it'll make the Zoom much more orderly, and also people will feel that they're being heard, which I think is very important.
Okay. Yes, Superintendent Miller.
Just a question, and Jocelyn or Ellie, let me know. Less is more was legislation that just really got started March 1st yesterday, really affecting what can happen with somebody on parole. So I just want to know how will that be impacted with the bail reform and less is more? Like a lot of times, sometimes if a warrant isn't issued, a parolee, can get bail just like anybody else. If a warrant's issued, they're not eligible for bail. At least that's the way it was. So I don't know if anything changed with this new legislation that just was enacted yesterday. So just to know, how that would be impacted when a parolee's arrested.
I mean, that's a good question to submit for the forum.
Yeah,
I asked
that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jocelyn, because I think what Barbara's suggestion does make sense. So potentially maybe even doing a Google Doc with some questions, and it helps compile everything in one place. So would you say like 9 days anticipation, or like how
Yes.
when do you think should be the cutoff time to really give people the in the DA's office the ability to really go through these questions and potentially answer as many as they can? So like 5 days, 9 days, 10 days.
I think 9 days is fine.
So meaning the cutoff. So I'll tell the designer to I'll get a link together for a Google form, compile all these questions and have it over to y'all by the 21st, by March 21st.
Let me look at the calendar.
March 21st is.
I just want to see what day of the week it is.
That's a Monday.
Okay. All right, so let's get it to Jocelyn on the 22nd. Make the deadline the 21st at 4:00. Make the deadline the 21st. And then get it to Jocelyn on the 22nd, because the meeting will be the following Wednesday.
Okay.
So it gives the work week then and the extra Monday. So deadline.
And not to say that questions won't be answered. It's just like Barbara said, to be able to get as many questions answered.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Julio?
I'm sorry, just in terms of process, just so in terms of how we've done it in the past, some of these webinars is just as Barbara said. I think it's great to first have a moderator who will be moderating the sort of the program, and then having the advantage of getting these questions in advance. But also, I think at the back end, when the webinar is taking place, is really good to have someone be the recipient of the additional questions, so that they could group it together, because you may have a lot of people and some of the same questions may come up, and having someone sort of receive them and then put them in some sort of order that would then be sent to the moderator, so that they can ask then the guests what those questions are. And I think will help you drive the program a little smoother as well. We found that to be the case. So just a suggestion.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So
I think we should leave that up to the district attorney's office, because when they look at the questions, I trust them enough to say that since they'll be answering them, if they want to cluster some of the questions together, and say, well, we have these 3 questions. I'd like to answer them in this way. I think that we could accept that because they're the ones going to be doing the answering and have the information. So I think, let's see what questions we get in, but I think that would be a reasonable, in a sense, they're the knowledgeable ones. They're the ones that'll be giving the information. The other thing I wanted to say, Domingo, I think on the panel, you should also have a crime victim.
Well, that's it's up to the public. This is a conversation around bail reform. If there's individuals who have been impacted by crime, then their voices are welcome, then they should engage in questions. And we don't want to remember this is a lot of information for a 2-hour meeting. If we want to be intentional about it, we have to just focus on the topic at hand. And then as other things surface, we start figuring out ways of addressing them. You know, that's why it's important not to have the DA's office deal with the questions, but have board members deal with it, because it gives us a better follow-up opportunity. You know, so that's why I think it would be better for one of us to be able to support with the questions. So, because sometimes they are clustered, but we also know that there will be good questions that are often unanswered, and we want them on the record, you know.
So you think they might be put under the rug a little bit?
Not necessarily put under the rug. I think there's a space for everything in life. You know, unfortunately, right now, we're not talking about a healing process. We're talking about understanding a system that's already in place. So I think those are 2 totally different things. Once you have so much information being shared.
Okay, well, I'm willing to work on that with you in terms of the questions. I'd be willing to do that with you.
Okay, cool. So what I'll do is, because I'm also one of the moderators, so
okay,
I'll make like we'll talk offline about it.
Okay, but when the questions come in, we also don't have to wait to the 21st and in a frenzy try to organize them. We should by the weekend before.
With Google Docs, as they come in, we could send them in waves. But ideally, I think it's better to just have a cutoff date and then just submit the questions.
Right, but I'm saying as they come in, we should start to see patterns. So I would think the weekend before is when we'll kind of pull it together.
Correct. So what we'll do is I'll create the form and we'll work together on making sure we develop clusters and things like that.
Okay, sounds good.
Julio, I saw you had your hand up.
I took it back down. It was
okay.
I had it by mistake.
Okay.
Yes. Is there anything else? So far, what we've done is we've identified a question system. So that means that we'll be looking at Google Docs as a way of being able to compile these questions. So I'll develop a form. I'll be working with Barbara to try to cluster all the cluster questions based on trends. And yeah, then something else was raised.
What about people that aren't so computer literate?
Well,
how do you want to address that?
Are we gonna put a teleprompter somewhere with an input key?
No, I just meant, would we also allow people to, like, for example, everybody is pretty much telephone literate, that people could call in their question to the community board?
Like I said, Barbara, if you want to support in that,
no,
yeah,
I'm
exactly.
saying
So we shouldn't be.
we're often accused of not reaching the community.
Well, we're often also accused of not understanding the community as well. So assuming that everybody's not computer literate is already making an assumption about a community that hopefully you understand, right? So
yes, I do.
Yeah,
and
so
we know that from COVID, how many kids didn't have computers in their house,
and how many kids did.
Mm-hmm. So
I work in a school, so we can talk about it. So I think it's important for us to now also stretch ourselves so thin by we have to have systems in place that if you're willing to receive calls and input them yourself, that sounds like a great way of being at service to your community.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying we have a staff in the office.
Yeah, but we also don't know what the staff bandwidth currently is. So before we say something like that, we should reach out to them and understand what they're working on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so we also got to be considerate. Okay, so anybody else have any suggestions? Hearing none, is there any new business, old business we would have to bring up? Yes, Julio.
Thank you. So just two things. I'm not sure if Debbie, Ebenezer, or Eliezer have mentioned discussed this with your committee. But they, Isidro Medina had recommended last month to propose a resolution around the scaffolding and the crimes that are happening on 168th Street. And so Debbie, I believe, was going to bring it up at the executive committee, but I don't think it was. And then Eliezer mentioned that it was going to be discussed as a possible joint resolution between the public safety and transportation. So I'm not sure whether, that has come up.
I believe we're engaging in different conversations with Debbie. I'm currently working with her assistant chair, Leo, on some recommendations that we're going to be providing to DOT as far as community outreach. I'm not familiar with the scaffolding conversation yet, though.
Oh, okay.
But that's something that needs to be addressed, understanding everything that's happening in 168th, right? So
Yeah.
I think that's with more urgency, we need the representative from transit to also be a thought partner on strategies to be able to mitigate or solve that problem.
Okay.
Yeah, but thank you for raising that, Julio. I would check in with Debbie, but I personally was not informed of that. I don't know if you were, Barbara.
No, and also it's not clear to me, please inform me, Julio, exactly who is responsible for that scaffolding? Is it a building?
So the scaffolding has been up for, I think, for about 5 years now. And it's at the building that's owned by the New York City Department of Health. Now, we know that, if these things are up, it's because of some sort of work that they need to do in the facade. The thing is, no work has taken place that I've seen over the last 5 years, other than just have the scaffolding there. So, but his Department of Health is the responsible party.
Yeah, it's also may be there because it's to protect the public because things can fall down. In other words, if there's dangers of bricks or something falling from the parapets. But the point is that the first step to take would be to find out if there's any open permits. And, in other words, why was it put up?
Right.
What are the open permits? Because you can't put a scaffolding up unless you have a permit.
Right. And the person for the Department of Buildings and Department of Health mentioned at the district service cabinet that they would do that. They will find out about that. The elected officials themselves has also written to the Department of Buildings to get the status of the request of those permits as well.
Okay, because then that can be forced if there is work that has to be done, because you don't want, was it local law 11 where the girl from Barnard got hit by the brick on her head and died? If it is local law 11 violations, those have to be remedied right away.
No, you're absolutely right. And now, and I will follow up with Ebenezer and the district service cabinet on that.
Okay.
But I just also thought that the issue was going to be brought up to your committee because we discussed with Debbie, and it was recommended by Isidro Medina to follow up with the resolution. But I understand. So
it wasn't brought up to me. The only conversation I currently have with Debbie is regarding outreach strategies for the Department of Transportation. That's it.
Right.
And I'm not even working with Debbie. I'm working with Leo.
Right.
Okay, so Julio, I would say we can't do a resolution until we have the information from the Department of Buildings, because it would have to be based on the objective reason as to why that scaffolding is there.
What I'll do is I'll circle back with Debbie, and perhaps you could follow up with your committee in terms of something.
If it has to do with Department of Health, usually Steve is the one that deals with that.
Right, but it's not health per se,
but it's a public safety and transportation issue. I'm okay with writing a resolution, but I think we have to figure out what we're writing a resolution.
Sure,
absolutely. It's my first time hearing it.
Right, so I'll circle back, as I mentioned with Debbie.
Okay.
On that.
Okay.
And the other thing I was gonna just follow up is, last month, we talked about what I had sort of proposed in, really in recognition,
Oh,
for the
yeah, yeah.
sacrifice of Rivera and Mora was, creating some sort of, or suggested the committee perhaps having a resolution calling for the establishment of a first responders community appreciation day at Community Board 12 in recognition of the sacrifice of these two officers.
Completely
And you
agree.
asked, and Barbara asked last month in terms of the hospital, because we also do an appreciation breakfast for first responders. We do one for the police department, and we do one for EMS and FDNY. And so what I would suggest is that if the board will be going that route in terms of doing a resolution and asking that there be a day where the community as a whole recognize, the FD, our first responders, that we would join with the board and bringing this breakfast that we do annually.
Yeah.
to
I was
coincide
just,
with-
the only
at
reason I didn't
Christmas.
move forward on it, Julio, was because I was expecting a call, right? So I was like, yo, let's talk about it to figure out what it means. So like that, I could get a framework and understand the scope that we're trying to target, So
Right.
that's why I personally, like, I was just, because I responded to the email and I was like, Julio, let's just talk about it.
Yeah, so the idea would be really to, and I know the police department, I believe, does this, they open the precincts to the community, but on a given day is where, EMS, FDNY, and the police department will encourage the community, come in, say hi, let it get to know who you are. And, and that same day is having some sort of, community event where we honor these first responders, with the breakfast or whatever it may be, as a sign of support from the community. So that was the sort of the proposal that I had in mind.
Yes, we're and we can even do it through an executive. We could there's multiple routes that we could take to be able to figure this out. And it sounds like a great idea. As somebody who works in a school, like kids are always asking about when we're gonna visit the firehouse, So it's like, let's just figure out ways of appreciating our first responders. So yes, agreed. So hopefully what we could do is, because I know during the summer days, the precincts have certain events, like certain days out where they have rock climbing. It's all about figuring out ways of bringing all these resources together, because resources are limited, at least for us, So if we could do a day where we're appreciating our first responders, and there's rock climbing events, and sign up your school to visit our local whatever, right? It's a perfect way to do a bunch of things at once. If because they do really fun stuff in the summers.
Yeah, I mean, I know that police night out is one of the things that
Yeah.
that they do, but again, that's I guess more centralized at the police department, and looking at
It's National Night Out Against Crime.
Correct, National Night Against Crime, and so this will be perhaps something in addition to that, where you bring in all the first responders at the same time.
Okay.
And again, in terms of being able to do this, and serving that we're doing the right thing for our community and for our first responders, I would we'd be willing to go back and try to see what sort of resources we can put together in order to make this a worthwhile event for all of us.
All right, perfect. Sounds like a conversation needs to be had. All right. So anything else? Any questions?
There's two questions to answer in the chat, Domingo. You should answer.
Yes, it's a public event. In the case of Frank Abra, what teaches us all we need to know about bill reform. All right, thank you for bringing in a case study. Anything else?
I just wanted to comment that I think that one question we'll have for the district attorney's office, and which I think that we should mull on, when they do say a person is released under supervision, what does that actually mean? I've heard that for many of them, it just means 2 phone calls a month and 1 face-to-face visit. Otherwise, people can roam free. That doesn't sound like much supervision to me. So I do think that the DA's office really needs to clarify, what does released under supervision mean? Just a little heads up. So that's just for everybody to note.
All right, thank you, Barbara. With that being said, I don't even think we need to vote, right? Motion to adjourn. We don't even have quorum, so there's no vote. So after this,
Yeah,
our
how
meeting-
many of us were here, Domingo? It doesn't look great. It's
It
just
doesn't.
you,
It
you,
doesn't.
me, and who else? You, me, OC, and
It
then
doesn't. You know what
Mira.
it is?
That's it?
Unfortunately, this is a committee that is on the process of being revamped, and like everything on the board, with everything is always forever changing. That's called evolution. So
So
unfortunately,
it was
there's
you, me, OC, Jamira, and is Christian Perez on the committee?
no, I believe that's the 3-4. That's the officer from the 3.
I thought you
I see, that's a
like
phone.
7 people.
No, we have 4 people.
Okay. So if it's 3 of us, we have quorum if there are 4 people on the committee.
Yeah. So
If 4 people came.
yeah. So Barbara, it didn't look so bad. Thank you for
It looks-
highlighting that, though.
Okay.
Bingo.
I will make sure I reach out to the chair so that we could get more reinforcements, so Barbara could be pleased. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'm not displeased. Now, we're always fighting, Domingo,
Barbara, can
but
I get a
that's not
motion
fair.
to adjourn, please?
In effect,
We've worked all
once-
day and we're tired.
Okay, I work too. You don't know what I do.
I'm sure you. I don't, and it's okay. That's a beautiful thing to have mystery work with things.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. I
Thank
second
you.
it.
I appreciate you all. See you all next month or at the end of the month for our March 34. And it's a public event. Everybody could show up.
Yeah,
Thank
okay.
you.
All right.